Air1 Public Affairs presentation. Views and opinions expressed on this program aren't necessarily that of the host, staff, or management. Content may not be suitable for young children. Air1 is committed to community. Closer Look continues with a look at local agencies, events, and issues. Here's Frank Hammond.
My guest this evening is the chairman of the Perquimans County Board of Commissioners, Kyle Jones. Kyle, welcome to Closer Look.
Pleasure to be with you, Frank. Thank you for having me.
Kyle, we're glad to have you. What point in time did you decide to run for the Board of Commissioners?
This was 2012 when I decided to run. I was fresh out of law school, had just passed the bar exam. I'd had an interest in land use for quite some time, and our local county commissioner from my neck of the county, which is called New Hope, was not running for another term, and having not heard of anybody that was going to step into his place, I decided to run.
So this was kind of a decision of your own, knowing the landscape of where the board was at that time?
That's right. We don't have districts like some boards do. Our seats are all at large. So there was one guy by the name of Mac Nixon who was sort of the unofficial New Hope commissioner, and he decided not to run for re-election, and hearing that, that's when I decided to run.
Now, as far as being the chairman of the board, is that a nomination type situation within the other commissioners?
The way that it works is every December at your meeting, the first Monday of December, the Board of Commissioners elects a new chair and vice chair. Now, the first 4 years that I was on the board, we had the same chair. Mostly, that is rare that the chair is the same person for 4 consecutive years, but because of who it was, it's a woman by the name of Janice Cole, who was a former judge and U.S. attorney. Because of who she was, the whole board thought it was best that she stay the chair during the remainder of her time on the board. I was the vice chairman her last year on the board, my 4th year, and now, having just won re-election in my 5th year, I was nominated and then unanimously voted in as chairman of the board.
So what are some of the new responsibilities that you'll be working on in 2017, along with continuing to be commissioner for Perquimans County?
Well, the chairman sets the agenda, so there's certainly more involvement on the front end and planning for a board meeting. I believe that the chairman's job is to encourage and facilitate discussion at meetings. So at meetings, that's most of what I do, is facilitate discussion. But as compared to just being a board member, the difference would be more meetings with the county manager to try to make sure I know what's going on and that we've got everything ready to go as far as our meetings and other things that we may have. And then certainly you are the sort of the spokesman for the board, so you have to be ready for press inquiries and that kind of thing.
So you and Frank Heath have regular meetings about things happening in the county as well?
Absolutely. I've known Frank for a long time, from even before I came on the board, and so I've got a good relationship with Frank, and he's a heck of a county manager, and so he makes my job as chairman and as a commissioner a lot easier.
As you're thinking about the budget year to year, you're always trying to stay within the budget but meet the needs that are continuing to grow, and the cost of many things have gone up in recent years. And so we're having to adjust, but yet the income from taxes and other revenue isn't always offsetting that. So how do you balance all that out and stay within the budget?
Well, the vast majority of our revenue comes from property taxes. So when somebody gets their property tax annually on their home and pays it, that's the bulk of our revenue. And historically, we have been a very conservative board as far as spending, and so that has also led to a reluctance to raise the tax rate. We're a farming community, and so the rate not only applies to land, but also to things like combines and tractors. So we have to be mindful that if we raise the tax rate, we're not just upping it on somebody's $200,000 house. We're upping it on their combine, their tractor, and all that kind of stuff, and so that plays into it. But you're right, Frank, it does make it difficult with people's salaries going up and needs change, and places like the school system, are looking for more money every year. But the school system is only roughly 25% of our budget, so we can't favor the school system. We have to look out for the other 75% of our budget also. And so budgeting is really a process of choosing, like anybody would really in their household. You know what your income is, and then you have to disperse it according to your needs. And I would say one of our biggest needs is our aging population, and one of the departments that ties closest with that is EMS. Where our EMS is located now, if you have a stroke at the bottom end of my neck of the woods, which is called New Hope, it would take EMS probably half an hour to get to you, or potentially more. Certainly no fault of EMS, is just because of the distance between where they are and the bottom end of New Hope. And so that's certainly something we would want to address in the future as the number of baby boomers rise, and the data suggests that our county is going to be getting older. And so those are the kind of needs that we're looking to address, along with, the school system, social services, public safety, and that kind of thing.
You see more and more firefighters today being required to be an EMT as well. And, of course, this ties right along with that. So since Perquimans County is actually on an all-volunteer system for our firefighters, the need certainly is there for individuals who would like to apply, but obviously you've got to meet qualifications if you're going to apply as well.
Right. For people that seek to be volunteer firemen, you do not have to be an EMT as well, although it's certainly a plus, and the individual fire departments would love that. But we are lucky as a small rural county to be able to function on an all-volunteer basis. I will say, though, I think most of the guys in the departments would tell you that the numbers are dwindling and it's getting harder to sustain those numbers. And I think general community service is something that is not as lauded as it was. I think a lot of people, particularly around here, think their obligation to their community ends after they go to church on Sunday, and I would really challenge that, and we encourage people to ask themselves, what impact are they having just going to church on Sunday in their community? Certainly that's a great thing, and I go to church myself, but your community and things like this really depend on volunteers and people giving selflessly of their time. I would strongly encourage people to consider, if you have the time, your local volunteer fire department, because your county certainly needs it, and it helps us stay on an all-volunteer basis. And the county gives money to the fire departments every year, and we certainly recognize that they're doing the best that they can.
Is there funding that's applied for through grants or other means to provide the equipment and resources necessary for our volunteer firefighters?
The individual fire departments would do that. Some of them do go after grants that are available both at the state and federal level. I know our emergency services department does apply for a lot of grants and has received quite a few. Our director is Jonathan Nixon. He's gotten very good at the grant writing process and has gotten us a lot of good grant money. The great thing is that's tax money we don't have to take from our county residents. It's certainly coming from the taxpayers. But
percentage-wise across Perquimans County, how much is farmland and how much is actually within the towns here?
The vast majority of Perquimans County is unincorporated areas. Your two towns are Hertford and Windfall, and I believe Windfall is a city of license of Air1. But outside of those towns, the majority of your property in Perquimans County is going to be actually out in the county. So they are serviced by the county's volunteer fire departments and the sheriff's department rather than the city's respective police departments and those kind of services.
How are we looking as far as the sheriff's department is concerned in meeting the needs there in law enforcement?
We've just recently installed a new sheriff at the 1st of February, and that came after our former sheriff retired after having 17 years on the job. Our new sheriff has been his right hand for many years, and we've always had a good relationship with the former sheriff, and the budgeting process is, while challenging, we make it work, and the former sheriff as well as the new sheriff knows that we do the best we can, be it with providing them with money for new vehicles or new training opportunities or weapons or that kind of thing.
Now, as far as boards and committees, there are ways, as we referred to earlier, to volunteer. It's vitally important, whether you're a firefighter or many other ways. You can help advise the Board of Commissioners. Maybe you're not ready to run for office yet, but you say, I have experience throughout my life, I've been successful in business, or I just want to help out. If someone approached you in that way, Kyle, what would you share with them, and how many boards and committees are available right now?
I would be greatly appreciative of anybody's willingness to serve. There is an application on the county website that you can go get, and it lists all of the boards and committees that exist within the county, and once you apply, your name is put on a list that county clerk to the board, which is Mary Honeycutt, a list that she keeps and gives to us at appropriate times. And then when a vacancy comes available, we choose from the list of applicants and put somebody on the board. Some of the more popular ones are the Planning Board, the Department of Social Services Board.
In case you're just joining us, you're listening to Air1's Closer Look on 97.7. Kyle Jones, the chairman of the Perquimans County Board of Commissioners, is our guest this evening, and I'm your host, Frank Hammond. Kyle, what's something that's most rewarding to you on a day-to-day basis about serving? You not only wear the chairman's hat here for our Board of Commissions, but you also have a full-time career serving with Andy Wommel through our district attorney's office and helping out in that way. And that's how many counties now?
That's 7 counties.
7 counties, so it's a large region here.
Yeah, it is a privilege to have that job. I love it. I am fortunate to have that as a day job. The commissioner duties take up most of my evenings, but I will say that it is rewarding to be able to serve not just my county, but specifically the area that I am from called New Hope. I take a lot of pride in being from this little part of the county, and also take a lot of pride in the fact that I am sort of its representative, along with one other commissioner, Fondella Lee, who's our vice chairwoman. And so to think that I'm the New Hope commissioner, it just brings a lot of pride.
As you referred to earlier, Windfall and Hertford are our towns here, and Hertford's more developed than Windfall is, of course. There are needs that Windfall has as a town that would be greater than those potentially in Hertford. So as you're thinking about the budget, I know you're trying to meet all the needs. What are ways that the county helps serve Windfall in particular?
Well, our Sheriff's Department has a very good relationship with Windfall and their police department. I personally know Windfall's Mayor Fred Yates very well. He's a close friend. And so our Sheriff's Department and their police department collaborate on a regular basis, be it for traffic checkpoints and that kind of thing. And when one needs the other to assist, each gladly obliges, and they coexist well. Neither is territorial or anything. Everybody's just glad to help each other out because we're such a small community.
Kyle, trying to keep the revenue local, keeping residents here, working within the county, what are the opportunities? Clearly the farms and working with the farmers would be one of the greatest opportunities. What are some other businesses, or maybe it's something with the Perquimans County government? What are other opportunities maybe residents may not be aware of?
Our school system is probably our biggest employer in the county. That brings in a lot of people that, move here for a job in the school system. We also are, to some extent, a bit of a bedroom community. A lot of people live here and go to work elsewhere, which is not entirely a bad thing. It has a lot of benefits.
Cost of living is lower.
Right, and another thing is when you leave your work at 5 o'clock here, it's not a horrible traffic jam.
Great opportunities here. I know that the Chamber does a good job of making sure that potential businesses and those who'd like to expand their existing businesses are aware of opportunities within the county.
Right. We've got a very good chamber, and it works well in conjunction with our board. They do what they can with limited resources, and I think with what they have, they produce well. We've got an economic development person on staff with the county as well that is always out looking for more opportunities to try and bring some sort of commerce to the county. One of the big things we have on the horizon is a marine industrial park that is owned by the North Carolina Seafood Industrial Commission. The idea being to mimic what they have in Wanchese, which is down near Manio. It's a park where boats are built and that kind of thing. And one thing Perquimans does have is waterways, and it's something that if we can potentially monetize, it would be to everybody's benefit.
Is it something that we'll see develop as the year goes along, or what are the next steps?
It is dependent upon numerous things. One is dredging so that larger boats can get in and out, and secondly, it's sort of which comes first, the chicken or the egg. It's either a business comes and then others start, or we go ahead and dump money into it so we can attract a business. It's sort of conflicting ideologies that the board continues to work on.
Kyle, you serve with 6 board members here on the commission, and we have kind of a uniquely qualified group. Share about who serves along with you and some of their backgrounds.
Sure, Frank. We have 6 commissioners, all elected, and we are unique in that regard because it's an even number. I think less than a handful of the 100 counties in North Carolina actually have an even number of commissioners. The interesting part being that it could lead to a tie vote, and in the past has here. There's myself and then 5 others. Fondella Lee is our vice chair. Fondella comes from a background of running a juvenile detention center. Wallace Nelson is a pharmacist. Charles Woodard is a pharmacist. We also have Joseph Hoffler, who is retired from the military, and then Ed Muslin, who is from Connecticut and comes from a business background. We've got a very good board. Each of us serves 4-year terms staggered over 2 different election cycles. So every 2 years, 3 of us will be up for re-election. But we've got a great board, and that makes things a lot easier. It's really collegial and it's not combative, and I am grateful every day to be on a board with that kind of atmosphere. It makes going to meetings a lot more pleasurable, that's for sure.
How often do you meet?
We meet at least twice a month. We have a regular meeting where we take action. That's always the first Monday of the month at 7 o'clock. We then have a work session on the 3rd Monday of every month at 7 o'clock where we don't take action. We just sort of plan. And one example would be we've been working on a potential noise ordinance, and for that kind of thing, we don't do the majority of the legwork at the regular meeting. We'll do it at the work session, hashing out the legal aspects of it and that kind of thing.
So you get your language and you're kind of ready to go, or if someone makes a motion and go through the procedures to vote on.
That's right. It's a lot cleaner since we're able to have these work sessions. The work sessions are open to the public. We're not hiding anything. We're certainly fans of sunshine in that regard, and they can come. It's always this 3rd Monday at 7 o'clock, and they'll just see how we sort of plan for the regular meeting and get our ducks in a row.
How long do those normally last?
I would say they average about an hour, Frank, but depending on the complexity of certain issues, it could go longer.
And the regular board meeting that's held on the first Monday of each month, that's where you have public comment sessions for how many minutes?
That's right. The public comment section is always at the end. You come in, and if you want to speak, which we certainly encourage if people want to do that, you can sign up, and at the end of the meeting, you can speak. We really don't have any time limit for anybody to speak. We are flexible in that regard. If it is a meeting now where we have 50 people that want to speak, we would probably try to ask they limit their remarks to 5 minutes. But generally speaking, if there's just 1 or 2 people that can speak really as long as they'd like, and we're glad to hear from anybody.
That's quite generous, because I know many boards will only allow 3 minutes at a time. But of course, like you said, it depends on how much is on the agenda. But once again, like the planning meetings you mentioned on the 3rd Mondays of the month, that could be a board or committee potentially. There are other ways you can become involved. So if you'd like to know more and find out how you can help, they could give you a call. They could also look on the county website. What's the best way to go about contacting a Perquimans County Commissioner?
They can go to our website at perquimanscountync.gov, and on there they can click on Board of Commissioners, and then underneath the picture of the current board, there's contact information for each individual commissioner, as well as the county manager.
If they wanted to contact the clerk to the board, who would they talk to?
Just call the number that's on there. And
Kyle, what's that number again?
It's 426-8484 if they'd like to call the county manager or the county clerk.
Kyle, anything else you'd like our residents to know? We've invited them to participate. Anything else you'd like our residents to know?
I would just like them to know that the 6 people that are all individually elected to their county board of commissioners are very proud of the work that we all do, and I am personally very proud of the board that we have. It is 2017, and the political climate is tenuous to say the least, and so the fact that we as commissioners that are elected to partisan offices all get along and the vast majority of our votes are unanimous, I just think it's something that people can be proud of, and I want people to know what sort of just the quality of board that we have. And I'm not talking about myself, I'm talking about the rest of the 5 people that I'm given the honor of serving with. I'm just really proud of our board as a whole and very humbled to be a part of it.
Kyle, I just want to say thank you again for choosing to serve and to use your talents, and for representing residents here across Perquimans County, being elected to be our chairman for 2017, and for inviting residents to participate. If they'd like to find out more, they can get in touch with you. What's your email address?
It is Kyle, Kyle, Perquimans @gmail.com.
Kyle Jones, the chairman of the Perquimans County Board of Commissioners, has been our guest on Air1's Closer Look on 97.7, and I've been your host, Frank Hammond. Thank you again, Kyle.
Thank you, Frank, and all your Air1 listeners.
If you'd like to find out more about the Perquimans County Board of Commissioners, email us at closerlook@air1.com. That's closerlook@air1.com. For Closer Look, I'm Frank Hammond.